Facebook Messenger up so you can pull up that video with China?
Yeah, I got it. All I got to do is just share the screen. Okay. Everybody, we are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Huru. And I have the brother, Kala Genesis, a.k.a. Kala Thanos, on with us today. Tonight's topic is, does Africa need China to survive? Now, Kala, like, with all the ingenuity in Africa,
right,
and diaspora, I mean, I was in Nigeria, right? And I understand if they're, I don't know, building. I'm trying to think of something light rail. We'll just say a light rail, or a train or a bullet train or whatnot that connects Lagos to Accra.
Right.
If you need assistance building that, I get it. I understand. But when I come to your country and I see the Chinese building stuff that you can learn off of a YouTube tutorial, from roads to even sidewalks, there's a breakdown somewhere, Kala.
Oh, yes. And like I said, let me start off by saying that this is not a Bash Africa segment tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got praises for not talking highly of Nigeria last show. Miss Cece, she talked about how proud she was of us and everything. But tonight, you're going to hear some things that...
Hold on. Miss Cece said she was proud of us?
Oh, yeah. You didn't see that, man?
Oh, no, I got to go back. You got to sit that to me.
It's right there in the chat room, man. Yeah, I thought you saw that.
Devil. She thinks I'm a CIA informant devil.
She was like, basically, I guess you guys gave Nigeria respect and all stuff. Like, we don't give Nigeria respect. But the bottom line, we're not going to give you reverence. This is another thing. It goes to the whole thing about black people in general. We want all the praise, but we don't want to do diligence and earn that praise, Same. Do you? Let me get. This is not poking fun at anybody. And I'm not trying to make fun of anybody. So don't anybody take this personally, right? If you're doing business in Africa, right? Do business in Africa and shut up about it. That should be just normal. Doing business in Africa, whether you have a hotel man, that doesn't give you a right to grandstand over everybody else. I'm in Africa. I'm doing this. You ain't nothing. You understand? No, the Chinese through China and Japan alone do almost $400 billion a year worth of trade and business activity between each other. That's just before across the South China Sea of Japan. Do you see Japanese all over the place talk about? No, it's natural. Doing business and building things and creating things is natural. It's harmonious. It's natural. Black people, when we do something, just the littlest thing, man, it got to be broadcast on the 6 o'clock news. We got to get an award. You know what I'm saying? We got to get all this accolades and everything just for doing what everybody else does normally. This leads to a mediocrity where we basically elevate and magnify what we should be doing on our own. Black people, like you asked a question about the trains. Mankind has been building trains since 1840 now. That's going on 180 years of technology of developing the railways. The technology is out there. There's no excuse why Africans can't not build the Trans-Africa Railway. Let me give you an example. And I'm going to get back to the thing. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Back in 93, I was with the Charlotte Science Institute, right? And the reason why I joined the Charlotte Science Institute because they had a program of African development. And that's when I learned about the term infrastructure and all the stuff like this years ago. So the BAIO didn't just happen overnight. This has been a couple of decades in the making. This is a manifestation of decades in the making. Anyway, one of the things I had was in the Charlotte Science Institute. Now, these things right here that the Charlotte Science Institute gave all these African governments, right, a Trans-Africa Railways, new modern free ports, airports, magnetically levitated rail systems. All these things right here, African governments have sitting around on their shelves and everything. Even the linkage to different engineering works and companies to train the local people how to build these things, how to finance and fund these things for long term, and the benefits that you get by maintaining and building a railway net, which is essential to a modern nation building. Your railway system, heavy tonnage carrying, railways, and also building canals. All these things are sitting there, and Africans, they know about this stuff, but they refuse and lack the political will to implement them. Now, at the same time, it was a time when Abacha was president of Nigeria. He just kicked out Babangida. Anyway, anyway, he was interested in doing this, right? He was interested. He died. Everybody called him a dictator, but I thought he was a pretty good guy. He was willing to listen to these programs and try to implement them. You know what I'm saying? The problem is this: there was $400 billion worth of oil revenue disappeared from the books. That means, when I say disappeared, that's not just the oil that was spent and stuff you see in Nigeria. $400 billion worth of over the last 50 years have disappeared, evaporated. No accounting for anything. When one administration takes over, right, of a project, the project is left uncompleted because there's no succession on how to complete a project, right? If another administration comes in, what happens is, hey, your kickbacks and everything like that, the promises you made to these other things, the work gets undone. There's many incomplete projects in West Africa. They're called white elephant projects. Everybody just, okay, unforeseen thing. Hey, you got me.
Okay.
Okay, unforeseen, unforeseen forces. They'll say happen. Budgetary cuts. That's what John Cash is going through right now in Nigeria. Unforeseen things, this and the other thing, and the projects are just lying dormant. There's several monorail projects incomplete, light rail projects incomplete, several highways that go nowhere, bridges dilapidated, under maintenance, and everything, because we as Black people have not taken nation building and building infrastructure seriously. And we want to claim to the world, this is where civilization started. We civilized Europe. We went into Europe and
the pyramids.
The pyramids. You know what I'm saying? Rome was nothing, man. We had all this stuff like this. Well, Rome had, in all fairness to the Romans had indoor plumbing and sewer systems 2,000 years ago. And you'll tell me that I got to look at videos where I got open sewers right there where people eat in the market and whatnot. And you're going to tell me, okay, that's no big deal? The world's been building sewers for 2,000 years now. So people say, Carl, man, you sound. He said, no, I'm just telling you like it is. So when the Chinese come in, right, they're like this. Most people don't take time to.
Hey, Carl, not to cut you off, but while I was on my mind, you need to also bring up Liberia too. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna bring up Liberia. We're gonna talk about Liberia too. We're gonna cover it all tonight. We're gonna cover it all tonight. And this is because why? Let me tell you something, folks. If people think we're bashing Africa, Africa is our motherland or homeland. If you don't love something, if you know how you can tell when somebody's a fake and a phony, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about Africa not being developed, not being anything. You say, well, what's the care? I don't care. Well, the bottom line is this. The reason why you can't go to Africa right now, the reason why they're reluctant to give you a visa right now, because they have very little resources, infrastructure for themselves. And so instead of being able to enhance Africa, you're almost like competing with them. So since there's no infrastructure, there's no modern infrastructure, there's limited electricity kilowatts, there's limited hospital beds, there's limited all these things that you don't think about because you live in America. When you go to another country and you get into an accident, God forbid, and you got to be laid up in hospital, you have no insurance and whatnot, who do you think's going to pay for that? That country has to pay for that. People, I haven't thought of that. I never thought, but they do. That's why they ask you, well, how much money do you have in the bank? How long are you going to stay? How long you're going to be in their country and everything, because they have limited resources. The infrastructure is not there really to handle any sort of influx of people from the West as of right now, because we have different wants, desires, and needs. Okay. Now, getting back to infrastructure in Nigeria and those other countries. Now, one of the things I did like about Nigeria, you had a young guy, pretty much fairly young, this former governor of Lagos called Babatunde Fashola. I swear to God, he is a godsend. He's the best politician Africa ever produced. He was a former governor of Lagos. He really took Lagos and cleaned that state up as best as he could. You know what I'm saying? And he was also the one that started the Echo Atlantic project in the Lekki Free Trade Zone. Governor Fashola was up against, he put some of his former friends in jail on corruption, the Tinubu family. He had them prosecuted for corruption and recovered a lot of money that was stolen from the state. This sort of government, and then what gets me is the blowback out here from Nigeria talking about Fashola is this, he's a dictator and all this stuff like this, because they don't like accountability. You know, and Fashio is a lawyer too. He's a lawyer. He's a guy with one wife, right? He doesn't have a whole bunch of stable wives like Obasanjo and all these other people that got 50 wives and all this stuff that holds everything. He's a decent man, educated, you know, a lawyer and a world educated. He's a decent man. He's the type of man that could lead Nigeria if he ever had to. If Nigeria really had a just political system, he would be president of Nigeria. You know, to me, the president of the continent. This guy is so amazing. You know, amazing in what he does and his philosophy and everything. He's like, so this idea that Africans can't produce politicians, they do have them. But the problem is that, when we have a system that basically, when you have mob rule, right? You can have all the best ideas. There's people out there in Africa, right? Here, no, I talk to them all the time. That have good ideas that could build a continent, that could really get Africa on the move. But the whole thing is, we elected to have democracy before we had development. And what happens is these greedy, power-hungry, what we call belly-driven politicians have entrenched themselves in Africa, and they don't care about roads not getting built. They don't care about kids being hungry. They don't care about. They're only out for their own self-interest. And this is why when you see, you heard about the situation with Bobby Wine, that musician turned politician in Uganda. You're muted, Dinus.
I know. So no, but what's yeah, I know. I was gonna unmute myself. I got it. But I'm gonna do a video on that. So they whoop his ass, right?
Oh yeah, they tried to castrate him.
Listen, then you had the white missionary,
yeah,
who whooped an Uganda's ass in a hotel.
Called him a nigger.
Jumped over the goddamn counter, whooped his ass, called him the N-word. He came out of that hotel room hotel unscratched.
Yeah. But look what they did to Bobby Wine for basically saying the president has no right to change the Constitution and he has no right to oppress the people. You see the conditions. 85% of Ugandan youth are unemployed. Any other situation, if that happened in the West, there'll be a revolution here. But Africa's the only continent where people don't have no right to rise up. They have no right to regress. You know, so in other words, basically, it's almost like you have no. Let me tell you something about people talking about, well, African military. People talking about Africa has military. The militaries in Africa are not designed for protecting one's borders or against the West or anything. They're designed to friggin' the tools of the political establishment to protect the interests of themselves and their foreign partners and to suppress and intimidate the masses. That's all the African military is designed for. It's never designed for protecting people, their borders. The only country in Africa that really has it like that right now, going right now, is Rwanda. They're building a new air defense system, and they really got their border game under control. You know what I'm saying? They know there's rebels out there in the Congo that want to come back in and stir stuff up and everything. And Kagame's not playing games. So, like I said, Pan-Africanism, folks, and the stuff we talk about is going to get complicated over the next couple of years. As nothing's ever cut and dry. Nothing's ever this, oh yeah, we got the cracker imperialists trying to beam down on Africa. We just gotta come. No, it's a little more complicated than that, my dude. You know what I'm saying? You have corrupt African leaders. You have traitors in Africa that don't give a damn about Pan-Africanism. Don't give a damn about you. Don't give a damn about me. Don't give a damn about all our collective future because there's enough between the 2 billion black people on this planet. Do you tell me we got to have another race of people come in here with $60 billion and basically tell it, and then let me calm down before, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like you just get to the point, man. You know, I just lose my temper when I talk about this stuff. Are we an inferior race or what? What? Good, guys, you muted. Guys, you muted.
I know. I'm about to unmute myself. I got it.
Okay.
But I was gonna say, people, get the likes up. We have 108 people watching, only like 35 likes. Please hit that like button. Stop being selfish with these likes. All right, go ahead, Kala.
Yeah, and my point about all this is this, right? We basically are saying, we're basically saying, okay, we know the problem in Africa. The problem in Africa is the people that have the will and desire to build Africa need to link up with the people in here in the West that want to see Africa and want us to connect with Africa on a level of economics, development, industry, education, and all these other things, you know, human development, human advocacy, and all these other things that we advocate for. we need to connect together on the continent and then to use this political power, this new political power, and hold people accountable for what's going on in Africa. I fear that the $60 billion China's going to offer to Africa is going to get eaten up. You know what I'm saying? And then it doesn't matter whether you see things getting built or anything like that. You are still going to be accountable for that $60 billion. You know how African countries get into debt? You know how they get into debt? They get into debt for the reason for the reason is that the leaders, right? Whoever is the leader or president time, sign off on the debt, do whatever they want to do with that money. But in fairness, in the 2000 and the 90s, African countries have been making improvements as far as repaying the debts. Uganda paid the debts off. Sierra Leone, countries like that, have been making improvements. But there's always that element waiting in the wing to turn Africa back to debt and chaos and everything, military adventurism, white elephant projects. Like, let me give you an example. There's a project going on in Sierra Leone right now. Sierra Leone people are dying right now because of diseases. They don't have avenue in medical hospitals. The president wants to build some bridge to nowhere, a bridge tunnel that he wants to build that the country could ill afford. That part of the country nobody ever goes to. But the Chinese will oblige them. They'll build a bridge, but you're going to owe them for it. So they're going to spend like $100 million to build some bridge tunnel, right? Because he thought it would be an impressive infrastructure work, you know what I'm saying, on a huge scale. No one's thinking about the long term. Okay, well, we need this first. You got to crawl before you can walk. You can't put the cart before the horse. Why are you building this bridge tunnel here where we don't have adequate roads? You know what I'm saying? We don't have an adequate sewer system. We don't have all the stuff like that. And that's the whole thing about so-called democracy. When the majority of people are illiterate and uneducated, and they're voting people that really don't know what they're talking about, Liberia. This is what you have when you have a country that's a region that's mostly illiterate, and they're voting based on tribal and ethnic lines and everything. This is what you have, and the people that run Africa know that. The politicians in Africa are playing and pimping democracy. Democracy only legitimizes their corruption. As you say, well, I was democratically elected. But there was a guy, a gentleman by the name of J.J. Rawlings. I don't know if you remember him, Dinas, right? Of Ghana, right? He overthrew a democratically elected government. Why? Because they were corrupt. They would use democracy to steal, rob, do all the stuff like this, and no accountability and everything. So the military came in and kicked them out and imprisoned them and put them on trial. And these people go around, oh, that was a democratically elected government. Africa was not ready at this point in time for this idea of democracy. You got to have republicanism before you have a democracy. America is a constitutional republic. It's not a democracy. That's why I get so annoyed when I freaking hear people talk about, well, Trump didn't win the popular vote. This is supposed to be a democracy. No, you illiterate. This is a republic, and we have an electoral college to make sure the popular vote never wins. Because if you have the popular vote wins in all cases, what you have is mob rule. You have people that are basically ill-informed, just by somebody can usurp power by using numbers. But when basically things are evened out, the electoral college, certain states have a certain amount of electors, that prevents bigger states from dominating the electoral process. If we didn't have electoral college, New York and California would decide each election, and then the whole rest of the country. In Africa, they don't have electoral college. So whoever wins out the popular vote automatically wins. There's no way of making sure there's balance, that each region and each group of people have adequate representation. Nigeria back in the 90s wanted to have a process that would have solved a lot of its problems, but they were to implement a rotating thing, which a presidential candidate could not, from one particular region, could not run. He gets 2 terms, and the next term he cannot. A group of people cannot run a presidential candidate from that particular state. It's up to a smaller state. It'll be like it'll give smaller states and smaller ethnic groups a chance at the presidency. And I thought that was great, but I don't know where happened with that idea. It died on the vine. But that's what Nigeria was trying to implement, to make sure the smaller states in Nigeria have adequate representation, like a rotating thing. Okay, it's these 2 states' turn to contest the presidential election. You 2 states are out, stuff like that. So therefore, that's what happened in Nigeria. But it didn't happen. Now, tonight's topic on the show is China. Now I know China is doing a lot of infrastructure work. Infrastructure work. Okay, for the last 10 years, China's been doing a lot of work, and like I said, they're doing a lot of things and everything. But let me ask people a question: what makes people think, really believe that the Chinese do not have the same sort of attitude? Or remember something: China was oppressed too, one time a third world country, and China was always thought of itself as the Middle Kingdom, the center of the world, and all this stuff like that. That was pre Mao Zedong and everything. Mao Zedong started this thing called the third. China was going to be the leader of the third world. So we're not dealing with the same China.
Cultural revolution.
Your cultural
And
revolution.
guys, please, and people, thank you. Shout out to all the super chats, Chief Drino, O'Shea's in the house. Thank you for the super chat, brother. And also, please hit that like button. Hit that like button. Thank you. Go ahead.
What's up, O'Shea? What's up, brother? Thanks for tuning. I feel honored. Check this out. What I'm saying is this: China was the leader of the third world, right? That was post World War II. Black people, if you look at even some of the films of the era, right? Post the 60s and the 70s, there was all of this Chinese were poor villagers. There was a poor villager, and the hero was a guy. You look at old Sonny Chiba movies. You know what I'm saying? There was always a morality tale. Don't gamble. Don't do this. Do this. Wong Shing Long. Excuse me. I forgot the guy's name, but it was a Chinese folk hero. You know what I'm saying? Everything the guy did, he said in an interview, he's a martial arts expert. He said that he said in our culture we have to always people in positions of power have to always be a role model and teach people the right thing to do because China was going through had an opium crisis. There was warlords, bandits, and everything. People have to do the right thing. That was a culture of that was similar to in Africa, similar to in Black America, where poor people were trying to overcome oppression, trying to find themselves in this cruel, wicked world and everything. All right, that was then. We had a third world alliance and everything. Those countries were poor, we were poor. Remember Muhammad Ali said, I'm not going to go halfway across the world and fight for poor people, right? Now look at Southeast Asia. They don't see themselves as poor people anymore. Since those time period in the 50s and 60s, look at Southeast Asia now. Tallest buildings in the world. Singapore has the highest per capita income in the world. They solved basic problems in Singapore: education, healthcare, ethnic tension. One of the things Singapore was able to do was solve ethnic crisis, conflict. They have a multicultural society in Singapore that's thriving. Same thing with Malaysia. Same thing with all this stuff like that. All these countries now, Singapore is a logistics business center of Southeast Asia. Same thing with Hong Kong. So it's not unusual to see Chinese and Singaporean and Thai, billion, Korean, South Korean business billionaires and everything. It's natural to see these things, right? People take it. Chinese when somebody in Korea does not have to go to another race of people and say, well, we need this new railway built. We don't have to do this right here. They have their own people, and even if they use a Chinese or Japanese contractor, it's still Asian. This sense of Pan-Asianism that if Asia wins, we all win was entrenched in them since 1955 when they had the Bandung Conference. And all these countries came out of the third world pretty much together. And Japan was one of the leaders that led these Asian countries out of the third world to the first world. Now the problem in Africa was we never had that one particular country that was the country that was supposed to be that country in at West Africa was Liberia. But the thing is, Liberians was never the large numbers of black people never had a chance to migrate to Liberia, and the large numbers of black people from the diaspora, Europe, and everything never had a chance to make Liberia that springboard to uniting the West, the black people in the West and the diaspora with the Africans in the continent. That never happened. Instead, what we had was even up into the 70s, colonial wars. Portugal was still trying to colonize back again in Mozambique, Guinea-Bissau, Amilcar Cabral, all these wars over there. You had Thomas and Carr in the 80s. You had wars raging in the Congo. Angola War, right? Thank God for the Cuban troops that came over there and helped Angola. You had the South African troops in Angola and Southwest Africa pushing into the Congo. under the guise of fighting communism. But we know what that's all about. So therefore, Africa has lost a lot of ground. Lost a lot of ground. We understand that. Now China comes in. China comes in. Now I can appreciate, the fact that China is giving money with no strings attached. The problem isn't so much as the Chinese; it's so much as the people that's receiving the money, the people, the governments of Africa that are receiving the money. What are they going to do with the money to show for that? Because when it really comes down to it, China is not giving money for free. And like I said at the top of the conversation, I said, what makes you think the Chinese don't have imperial ambitions like everybody else? Of course, Chinese history, there's no history. China has no history of imperial conquest outside of China. It was always invaded by the Mongols and all these other people, the Tatars, the Tibetans and all these other people, the Manchurians and all these other people. But they've never been a people that really colonized for the most part, except for Vietnam and Korea. For the most part, China never really was an imperialist country for the most part. Now things are changing. Things are changing. The attitude of China is like, something, they're starting to feel themselves. They're starting to feel themselves, and rightfully so. You don't have a bigot people look at these marches and stuff like that, and look at their military superpower, and somehow feel that something. There's a place. This is the last place on this earth. They can't go to Europe and plant their flag and take over and bully because they don't see themselves as really superior to Europeans. They're not going to go to Russia and it's like something. Let's encroach on Russia and treat them like. But there's one place on this earth where people could, when they see me, the very presence of me, what I'm saying, they're going to be looking up. They're going to look, and every Chinese now, right, just for being Chinese, can go to Africa, right, and set up shop and become part of this global geopolitical force called China Incorporated. That's just the reality of the truth. Reality truth. You have Chinese men going around Africa, while marrying now African women. The number of Chinese that are marrying African women to gain access to African legal status and all stuff like that to facilitate business is growing. And so I'm saying to myself, is Africa and the black man, are we the whore of the world? Do we lay down, let other races take over? Same thing with Arabs, same thing with Europeans. Everybody in this uncle is trying to get on the other continent to rape and pillage. Now, I see that, you see that, and we all see that. But the only group of people that is getting blowback in our attempt to build in Africa, to build with Africa, all the black people in the West. There's nothing being said to the Chinese, the Arabs, and everything. What are you doing here? What's your thing? You have to go through all this red tape and all this stuff like that too. And we make it seem like it's such a big deal when we do the littlest thing on the African continent. I mean, we did this, we did this. Well, people are going over there. All the stuff that we talk about online that we so-called want to do. All the stuff that we talk about for years. We want to do this. We want to do this. We want to build this. We want to do this. Other people are just doing it. They're doing it. Why? Because one is we here in the West particularly do not have a government facilitating and backing us. All these people have governments and everything backing them. Black people in America do not have the organization and the wealth for the most part to build something and compete with the Chinese. Why? Because the United States don't really have an economic or interest because they don't really care. They have military interests in Africa, but they don't have an economic and a long-term political strategy for developing Africa because that's just the way America sees Africa. They see it as, oh man, I don't want to get involved with that. Say anything. We'll let the British, the French, and everybody. We'll give them backing to facilitate whatever they want to do, and we take our cue from them. That's just the way it is. Any questions in the chat room, brother?
Let's see. Let's see what kind of questions we got in the chat room. Nothing really, just a lot of statements, just do for self, and yeah. Guys, hit the like button, but really no questions. Just I just don't understand why some people. Oh, in fact, let me go ahead and pull it up now, Colin. Give me 1 second. Let me pull this up now. This quote, because we got to go ahead and dive into this.
Yeah.
1 second. All right, here we go. We're going to pull this up. We got Colin's face right on it. Hold on. Split the screen, people. Share the screen. I mean, here we go. Share the screen application. There we go.
Exaggeration is the bastard child of enthusiasm. Beware the tongue that flatters you with exaggeration. Right? Now, when some people say, "Oh yeah, Africa is a black man's continent. We rule Africa. We don't tell it. Chinese don't tell us what to do, and all this kind of stuff like that." That's not the case. That's enthusiasm. And when you're enthusiastic about something, you tend to exaggerate. And that's in everything that we've been hearing now online. People exaggerate everything. Everything's exaggerated. Why? Because we're all enthusiasts. We want to see this Pan-African thing work. We want to see stuff like that. But we have to be realistic, you know? And one of the things that I took away from your conversation with John Cashin was he was not exaggerating. Was he being realistic or what? You know,
he was realistic.
He was being realistic. And can't you appreciate that? There were people that would comment and talk about, well, he sounds so down and he just sounds so, you know what I'm saying? He's just telling you after being in Nigeria for 30 years how it is. You know, he's a realist. You know, he's a realist. So when you do see John Cashin do something or say something, you're going to know he's telling the truth and it's going to happen. Why? Because he doesn't deal with exaggeration. He deals with what it is. He tells it like it is. He taught me how to be like that. Don't tell people anything because, especially when you talk about Africa, nothing's written in stone. You know, nothing. Of course, we have all the ideas. Man, if we had these groups together, yeah, we could do this together. Yeah, there's a thing we could do together, but the whole thing is, you know, and the question I want to ask a question before we get a segue into that is, should the burden of Pan-Africanism be always on African Americans? You know,
absolutely not.
So I ask a question. Every time we talk about, let's say we talk about, like we did a show the other night on with Holism and Dundada did a show on land acquisition, right? And after that show, anybody listen to that show, even our skeptics, were like, "Oh my God, these guys are serious." Yeah, if some African government says, you know something, that's a good idea. Guess what? The idea of having a state of our own on the African continent will become reality because these guys are organized and they're ready. They got engineers, scientists. The BAIO got engineers, scientists, and all these other people that's in their networks. And so, therefore, if they ever had funding and political support, wow, they could actually do this. Yeah, we can. Now, the point I'm trying to make is when we did that show. It's very abundantly clear that yes, these people are serious. These people are serious, and it's just a matter of time before we do it. But the whole thing is this: what we have now is a situation where we feel uh, uh, that we can do this, right? And also there's this one guy in the comment section of that show was like, Carla, man, if you guys just came to Africa and just assimilated, whatever like that. And I said, you know something? Post-colonial Africa has been free for, going on 60 years, right? In 60 years, there has never really been official government policy in the law which recognizes Pan-Africanism. I mean, in theory, they say, "Oh yeah, we welcome our African American brothers and everything," but in the law, there's never been an act created like they do with the Chinese or anybody else. They've never signed over or leased land like they did to the Indians. The Indians now lease whole lot of land in Tanzania and took land right from the indigenous people, uprooted them, took their land, say to Ethiopia, took their land off the farm and leased it to Arabs and everybody else to grow food for their own countries. There has never been a high level that I know of. A high scale project between African Americans, and we had. And let me tell you something.
Well, I say this, Colin. The spirit of Pan-Africanism died with Kwame Nkrumah.
Oh, it did. Yeah, it died. It died. And then we had the Leon Sullivan group, right? Okay, we had Leon Sullivan and then you had this African American Institute group, whatever that is, you know, and the whole thing is you have all these groups and everything, but you never ever see as official policy anything that connects the diaspora, and you always have these black people from America that's so enthusiastic about when they go. Oh yeah, I met with this guy right here. Well, what you guys get accomplished? He told me, man, there's opportunity galore and everything. Well, do you have a memorandum of understanding? Do you have funds set aside? Do you have legislation? Do you have a program set aside, a start date? All the things that we discussed on the show the other night, well, as far as like getting the project started and all stuff like that, was talked about on that show. So when people know now, when we talk about doing something, that's what you want to see. That's what we gave the people a roadmap of. That's what you want to see. You got a project start date. You got this right here, an agreement in place. You got all these things happening, and then what happens is you have your engineers, your designers, you have your procurement specialists, you have all these other people come in, and this, that, and the other thing. You have to have a government oversight. You have all these things, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm gonna do a show. I'm gonna expand. I'm not gonna say I'll do Dundada. He's the expert and everything, but I got stuff to add to that too. So I want to do a show with him myself, you know, and I, stuff to add to that. But the whole thing is this: so when people listen to that show, you understand that we have people in the Black African Infrastructure Organization that is dead serious about what we're trying to do. Now, people say, "Well, you haven't done anything. You haven't." Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But what we're saying is this: the ultimate goal of the BAIO ultimately is to be able to have land that we control. Once we have that thing, then we have leverage. Then you can sit down with Nigeria, any country, China, whatever like that, as an equal. Why? Because you have land. You're not going to have any leverage sitting in the United States. You know what I'm saying? Nobody comes to the United States and says, "Well, let me sit there and talk to the president of Black America." You know what I'm saying? Who might that be? Who might that be? Who's the president of Black America? Oh, it's Mr. Farrakhan. Let me go sit down with him. You know, and who's the black? Oh, Al Sharpton. Oh yeah, let me go.
Jesse Jackson.
Let me go sit down with Jesse Jackson. You know, let me sign this bilateral agreement with Jesse Jackson and the government of Black America. It's not gonna look. Let me say something, folks. It's time for black men to start acting like fucking buffoons. You know what I'm saying? You in America are a buffoon because everybody in this world, you got people down in the Amazon jungle are now saying, so maybe we could break away from Brazil from our own government just by going to one of them going to college, getting an education. You know something? I think we could break away from our own Amazonian state, whatever. People are crawling out of the pits of depravity to say, something, maybe it's right to us to have our own nation. You had a little white girl from Virginia who basically her father bought her own piece of land in the Sudan so she can have her own magical little kingdom. And so you have a 45 million black people in America, and you're gonna sit here and tell me that it's insane for us to even question.
It was crazy, Colin. Not only did he get that land, Disney wants to do a damn movie about it.
I didn't even know that part, man. That makes it even worse.
You know that? Yeah. I don't know if they canceled the movie, but Disney wants to do a movie on that story.
So a little white girl that got everything she wants, rich white girl, everything wants in America. She got her own something that the Negro in America should be wanting, a piece of land to call his own. Like I said, man, I don't want anybody talking to me anymore. I don't give a damn about anyone. If you are not for land infrastructure nationhood, if you don't believe that we should have a land and that all our efforts in America should be concentrated on building infrastructure, whether it's education, whether it's building families. Let me tell you something. You know who my army is going to be, man? The black family. That's what's going to make this work. The black family. When you see a black family, you see black families, husbands and wives getting together, producing children, producing beautiful black children. That's going to be the frontline foot soldiers of our nation. That's how you build a nation. If you have sons that grow up and that's going to build and defend this nation. Women that's going to nurture and build the next generation of warriors and scholars and everything else. That's going to be the nation right there. And the whole thing is this: if you don't believe in a black family and everything, you can't be a nationalist. The basis of a nation is the family, man, woman, and child. You know what I'm saying? And that man, William Child, when they know that that soil that they're standing on is their own sovereign soil, everything, they will defend that with everything they got. The reason why we suffer in America is because we are in captivity. This is not our land. This is not our stuff like that. This is somebody else's land. So we deal with whatever they tell us we want that will happen to us. So the whole idea is this. The whole idea is this. Okay, you have China in Africa. You have China in Africa. There's nothing we can do about it. We fell asleep. Another thing, stop telling me about I gotta revere some ancestors and whatnot. The last generation left me with nothing to build upon. I started learning this and I started talking to different African leaders and officials and everything. I say, they said they don't know who all these people are in America. All they know is when they come dealing with America, they got to deal with somebody white and they're going to get a raw deal. And they're like, well, this and we don't know. You guys always call yourselves American. I said, look, man, you know how many times I got to go on an apology tour when I'm talking to Africans? Well, we get the impression you guys don't want to be Africans. And I asked them, will that make you upset? No. We got the continent. Y'all got nothing. That's the way they look at it. And they look at us like fools because we look like, well, we're in America. We're lucky to be in America. But if Africa gets itself together, right, and we start building, strengthening the idea of the Black Republic, and we start building infrastructure, and we start bringing democracy and human rights and liberty and all these things right here and wealth and everything, who's going to look like a fool? You sitting in America talking about, let me not mock our brothers who are suffering police brutality and everything like that. But one brother a couple of weeks ago, when the dude shot in Minneapolis, and the councilman walked out, he said, look, we're going to rise up. But now, I'm like, dude, man. The councilman said, look, man, he just walked out and said, we're tired of it. We're suffering. I'm like, dude, you ain't going to do anything. Nobody in that room is going to do anything but just go to sleep at night when you're angry and everything like that. We're no different than our ancestors were. How mad we used to buck against slavery and Jim Crow, and how angry we got. We knew we were too scared. We're not in a position to do anything about it. We're the only group of people that will sit back and let this all happen to us, and then we put ourselves in a position where we don't do anything. I'm an American too. I'm an American. I love America. I'm an American. Well, basically, you're telling them, okay, we shoot you in the police and we give you no justice in court. Hey, you said you're American, right? That means you believe in the court system. Yeah, I believe in America. Well, this court just found our police officer innocent. Yeah, you're right. You know what I'm saying? I guess that's just the system, man. We just gotta bear by the law. You know? We have to get out of this. Well, I'm out of it, folks. If you can fight this war with America, you can try to do this thing all by yourself. I'm focused on land infrastructure nation. I want a nation of my own one day. And the bottom line is, I am not going to pass down to the next generation. I'm going to try with everything I have to give something to the next generation that they can take it to the next level. But that's my goal, my mission on this life is to make sure that happens. Now try to build these communities in America and everything. Okay, go right ahead. Every last single community in Black America is falling apart. Almost all of them. All of it. Gentrification, like when people say, "Oh, Detroit's going to be in 10 years going to be," say, "Yeah, but guess what's going to be missing out of Detroit? You, Negro, you are going to be gone. Harlem is really has an upswing. Yeah, the economy's ticking. Oh, geez, there's no Black people. Of course, you're not part of the plan. You are not part of the plan. You are not part of the plan in Harlem. You're not part of the plan in Brooklyn. You're not part of the plan anywhere. I don't know how that Watts. Is that being gentrified out in L.A.?
Watts is completely is predominantly Hispanic now. Pretty much South LA, Watts, Compton, all that is predominantly Hispanic now.
Now get this. While we were out there booty shaking and doing all this kind of stupid stuff and everything, these Mexicans and everything were building families.
Walking, putting in work for the set,
drinking. Yeah, all this stupid stuff we were doing in our 20s, in our 30s, acting like a goddamn bunch of clowns and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? These people were building families. They were building their families an army, you know what I'm saying, an arsenal. They were building families, they were building cousins, they were building generations. They could build businesses. How you build businesses? You build businesses by building families, by building bloodlines to pass something down. We basically have to admit that our people were misled. You know what I'm saying? Deliberately misled. Actually, I wasn't misled because I knew this was happening. I remember when Heavy D, I don't know if you remember this, Dinah, you probably did. Heavy D came out with a song called "Black Coffee No Sugar No Cream." You remember that? Oh, okay. Diane, remember that? Okay. Now, when that song came
I
out,
remember it.
I remember that song came out, right? Everybody was like, well, it made people uncomfortable. Why? Because at that time period, right? At that time period, the crossover was happening. You had whites in there partying. It was on MTV and everything like that. And there was a lot of white people like comfortable, like uncomfortable, like, why are we talking about that and whatnot? I saw the shift. If black culture was going to be marketable and sellable, it has to distance itself from the struggle. So you can't talk about Benita Applebaum and all stuff like that, and my girl Latoya and everything, celebrating the black woman and your hood love and all stuff like that. You got to be neutral now. You know what I'm saying? You got to talk about everything, and so therefore you can't offend white people. You can't make white people uncomfortable. So you get this. When you look at country music, whatnot, do you think Toby Keith cares about if he makes black people uncomfortable when he makes his song? He says I'm a honky tonk man, or whatever he talks about. All these white countries. And gets me is this: these guys make make $45 million, 45. They sell 45 million records, and they got this one. Let me ask you a question: this: why is it that a white artist could sell to his white people like Ted Nugent and everything, make all the money and everything, say what he is, don't have to change for nobody, and stay true to himself? Where a black artist, I don't even recognize these artists anymore. I don't recognize Little Kim. I don't recognize any of these people. I don't recognize their values. Do you remember the thing where Sway was this one art guy? He did a record where he was celebrating black women, and then Sway, Sway and Tech, the guy.
What about the Asian sisters?
What about the white sisters and whatnot?
Like, this is for this black women. Oh, brother, I mean, what about the Asian? Serious?
Yeah, this has been going on. You know what I'm saying? In the so-called hip hop. That's why they monetize hip hop. They monetize hip hop to take it away from us. To take it away from us. We can't talk about it now. You start calling a black woman a bee and a hoe and all stuff like this. Oh, you that's okay. Everybody's okay with that. If you want to talk about killing your own brother and killing black people and everything, that's okay. But when you talk about brothers loving each other and brothers coming together and all this stuff like that, no, that's too divisive. White people might be offended by that. That won't sell to white suburbia. That won't sell to all the stuff like that. So, so basically, what you're saying is the black people in America are not free. We're not a free people. Let me, can I say that again? Can I say that again? Black people in America, you are not a free people. That's why you get suffered by police brutality. That's why no other group of people suffer the brutality and the destruction we do. They don't value your life because the bottom line is your existence has to be cemented in blood. There's been no blood because we spilled a lot of blood. Yo, your enemy spilled your blood for his own benefit. You have to spill your enemy's blood, right? And that's how you make a stand. That's why we call it the African stand. That's where we're gonna stand. And that's people say, "Oh, it's corny, you're laughing." You laugh on your brother. But that's one day is where we're gonna stand. That's in the minds of everybody. We got people joining the BAL already. Young guys talking about, this will be a great thing for a military thing like that. Young guys.
Real quick, guys, let's get the likes up. We have 181 people watching, only 113 likes. Please hit that like button. Also, make sure. Shout out to Brian Cole, man. Thank you for the super chat, and also Rock City. Thank you for the super chats, brother. Thank you so much for the support. Guys, we love you. Thank you so much. All right, go ahead.
Check this out. I think it's my brother that one I was talking about, the one I had the debate with. I think he's in the chat room right now. Baruti Ketep. I think that's him. Yeah, if that's you, that we was having a debate about African American state versus integration in Africa. If that's you, give me put one. This is Baruti Katembo. Is that you? I don't know. It could be somebody else. I'm not sure. But anyway, we had this idea, this thing where he was like, well, African Americans just integrating Africa. I said, then I asked a question. I said, why is the Pan-African and the burden of Pan-African always on black people in America? And, well, how do you say that? I said, look, I deal with a lot of, like I said, when you have so much love for your people, man, every time I meet a Nigerian brother, man, I'm just like, man, brother, tell me about Nigeria. Tell me about Africa. I meet a Ghanaian brother, I tell you, but they don't get the affection. They're like, oh, you're unusual. And I always got, like I said before, I got to go on my apology tour. Oh, I'm so sorry. I got to start apologizing for ignorant black people over here. Look, we're not all like that. And they said, we know. They said, thing. I said, Lo, it's rough down here in Virginia and everything. We're not really educated about Africa and everything. And again, they just look at me like, yeah. They look at me like, you don't know what you're missing out on. Because despite all Africa's problems, they got a future. Why? Because their future ultimately is on them. Black people in America, our future is tied to whatever white people say we have. We're not a free people. So who do you think is going to be in a better position? The people that's free, who have their own bad leaders, or who people who in America, no matter how much they give you, they can always take it away from you. I think Africa is in a better position than we are. You know what I'm saying? You know, somebody Iggy said, it'd be great if Colin came up with a real project on something like instead of that's a little dig, rim shot. All right, I get it, man. You take a shot to the college citizens. We got a lot of ideas, man, but it takes money. If I tell you one thing right now, if we ever had Africans, all the Africans listen to the show, and we have diners going to the African continent, where are the Africans with the money? Where are the Africans? This is what I'm talking about. Do anybody think about the business?
They're all in Nigeria.
Yeah, they're in Nigeria, but what are they doing? They're making it rain. You know what I'm saying? They're spending $1 million on burying people in Bentleys. You know what I'm saying? What the hell is that going to do? I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. What's the sense of having Bentleys when you don't have roads to drive on? Well, you don't have infrastructure. You don't have schools. I don't want to drive a Bentley and I see kids with no clothes on and stuff like that, selling fruit on the side of the road. I want to see those kids in school. So why can't Africa look like Europe? Where the kids are out there playing softball and going to their art classes and the dance theater and stuff like that. Why can't African children have their childhood and their innocence? There's no excuse for it. There's enough human potential and every kind of potential to make sure that everybody black on this earth has a decent life and has a chance at life. But we choose to be selfish and stuff like that. We have a duty. You know what I'm saying? We have a duty as men. You know what I'm saying? It's all right for look, the bottom line, not just queer sisters, but women, that's the way women are. You know what I'm saying? They want, they pick and choose, right? The guy with the most money successful, they're gonna go for that. That's the way it is. Rich guy's gonna get all the girls to set me up there. It's up to the man to make sure he is that rich guy. He is that guy that's successful. He is that guy that's a leader. You know what I'm saying? That's the duty of a man. We can't keep doing what we're doing. And back to what I was saying, I said, look, I talked to a lot of African brothers, and they're like, hey, your brothers over here. I said, look, man, you got to give our people a pass. And I explained to them the stuff that we go. I said, look, man, give them here. And I'm always on this apology tour with my brothers, African American brothers and everything. But they understand. You know what I'm saying? They say, after I talk to them all night, something? All right, now I get it. You know what I'm saying? I get it. I explained to them about the self-hate, stuff like that. I said, let me tell you something, man. If you show African American a nice picture from your home, your country, your nice city, you show some girls over there and stuff like that. You'll have them and show them the culture and the history of where you come from and everything. And those same African Americans, man, will do everything they can to get near you and want to be part of what you are. But if you live in 2018, and I defy anybody to show me anywhere in Hollywood, except for Wakanda, but that was fantasy, where you see a modern African skyline, a state. I've seen pictures of Lagos, Rwanda, to see these skylines and everything. Have you done this? Have you ever seen that on the front page of a magazine? Have you ever seen that on CNN? Have you ever seen an image of an African modern city?
Just saw, they have CNN Africa voices.
That's it. But that's very rarely watched. That's very rarely watched. They basically, when you talk about Kenya, they'll bypass all that to go to a shanty town. They'll bypass all that to go right to a shanty town. And when they do show that, they'll show one little building and they'll make sure they show Europeans and Asians in the back and 1 or 2 blacks. You know what I'm saying? To give you an impression that the majority of people in Africa are still living in mud huts. Same thing with South Africa. You know what I'm saying? You see, no matter what do we say about Soweto and everything, Soweto got shopping malls and everything booming here, but the only thing you're going to hear about South Africa and parts of Cape Town and everything is where the blacks are, the shanty towns, the crime-ridden shanty towns. That's what you're going to see. That's the image of Africa that the world has, because it does not do any good to, and that basically what that does is frighten black people in the West to saying, if you leave America, that's where you're going to end up. You're going to end up in that shanty town and everything like that, living in poverty and filth.
But you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy, Color? The same media outlets who stereotype Black Americans and Black people are like, oh no, they're stereotyping us. Oh, it's white supremacy stereotyping us. Oh, it's not true. It's not true. A lot of Black Americans, the majority, 99% of us, will believe when those same media outlets who stereotype us negative, they'll believe the negative stereotypes they put out on Africa, which is
of course, and vice versa. I don't understand it. It's something. That's why I said we need the Diamond Circle Haruru World Network in Lagos, Nigeria, beaming satellite out of Lagos, Nigeria, and Cape Town, and all these cities. That's what we need. We need our own media. You know what I'm saying? We need our own media up to date to change the paradigm. The paradigm shift, because there's a narrative that all media outlets follow. Let me give you an example. I'm from Jamaica, Queens, right? And I used to always wonder, right? When I looked at the encyclopedia, they always say Black people in New York City, right? They live in urban area, and then they would always show a picture of people living in tenement houses. I said, wait a minute here. I said, yeah, and then they'll say, well, in certain parts of New York, Blacks live in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Queens, Black people live in well-kept houses. Okay, well, why do you show that in the thing? You always show Black people, in tenement housing and everything. And then on the news, right? Every time you would see Black people on the 6 o'clock news, and I would say, how does this happen in the same city? You mean to tell me you have a media outlet, CBS in Manhattan? You never went across the Queensboro Bridge, went to the South Jamaica, Queens, and seen rows and rows of houses that are owned by Black working class families? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I have never seen South Jamaica, Queens on the news. Never seen rows and rows of housing on the 6 o'clock news in Black America. It's like we didn't exist. How do you get to the north, and then out in Long Island, Sunrise and all that, Hempstead, Black communities, for generations, came up in the late 50s. While white people moved out to Levittown, those new communities out of Levittown, Long Island, Black people moved in those working class communities of Queens. And we did good. Black New York basically is the largest middle class, or one of the largest concentrations of wealth in the world. All our money do is just go right back into New York City. Working class, we built New York, but the bottom line is you don't see that. All you see is, residents over here are complaining about this, and you see people coming out of the projects and all this stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, okay, we know this, that, thing. I go over to the Bronx, I go over to Bronx River projects. We used to hang out with Bronx River. I go to Gun Hill and the Grand Concourse. We understand that. But there's also neighborhoods out in Queens where Black people live. And the only represented Queens ever got was Run DMC and LL Cool J. Run DMC is I'm from Queens. They would have LL Cool J said that. Said, look, I come St. Louis, Queens. You see these houses out here? Our parents made good money and everything, but we weren't allowed to say that, because they said, somebody asked LL Cool J one time. They said, so how is it coming from a poor kid from the inner city? He said, hey, look, flashing all over the Bronx, but I come from St. Louis. I got everything I want. I live with my grandparents on St. Louis, Queens. Look at these houses out here. This is like a freaking. And then everybody gave LL some flack, LL, you a sellout. Just because he said he come over his neighborhood's black, but it's nice. We got cars, we got nice, we take trips and everything. You ain't supposed to have nothing. And we got it in our head, we ain't supposed to have nothing. We ain't supposed to have nothing. Africa, you can't have a mansion in Nigeria. You can't have that. You ain't supposed to have that. You gotta be living in a mud hut. You gotta keep it real. You know what I'm saying? You gotta keep it real, man. You gotta keep it real. You gotta live in a dome piece. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get your electricity, your heat from fires from lighting sticks and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? You gotta keep it real. Electricity. What the hell you need electricity for? You got exactly, man. You gotta keep it real, man. You gotta keep it real.
Hold on. Hey, shout out to Bell Thanos. We had a dynamic.
What's up, Bell? Yeah,
dynamic show. And shout out to Chief Drano for the super chat. China's rise to supremacy is based on their ancient tactics, giving loans to people who can't pay back, thus becoming subject to the crown. Invested heavily in trade, emperors married into every tribe, and unification. What's Africa's Sankofa effect strategy? So say African countries default on the loans. Does somebody was saying that, China doesn't have the military to come and do nothing. Like what are your thoughts on this?
Have you seen the Chinese military? Have you seen the Chinese military? Yeah, they have the military.
They're like 1 million strong, right?
Oh, more than that, man. The Chinese military is unbelievable. You think North Korea is something? You got to see the Chinese stuff. The Chinese military is incredible. You know what I'm saying? And not only that. See, the whole thing is this: China will say, "Oh, we're not going to do this," but with the first time, let's say one of the embassies gets attacked or something like that, they're going to send troops. They're not going to send troops to take over, but they're going to send troops in, everything like that, and then they're going to be like this. And then what happens is this: the Chinese let their citizens. The key weapon the Chinese have is their citizens and their hungry population. You got Chinese going to countries and setting up shop with no license, no nothing. They just busted up a whole bunch of Chinese in Ghana who had full-scale mining operations. Full-scale gold mining operations, taking millions of dollars worth of diamonds out every month in gold.
It's not even that. It's they're illegally fishing.
They're robbing the fishing grounds.
Illegal mining. But what's crazy now, an African, if you go to China and fart sideways, they will ban you from the damn hotels.
Of course,
Chinese could come and do what they want, and nothing will happen.
And what do you think what happens when the Chinese local, the Chinese, they're the foot soldiers. China acts like it's just their government. No, it's not their government. The government acts like, oh, we don't have nothing to do with China. Oh, yes, it does, because the Chinese have to give. The Chinese still have the communist rule where you have to give a certain amount of your money back to the government. Remember that? What's that basketball player that was with the Houston Rockets? The tall guy with the Houston Rockets, the Chinese guy.
Yao Ming.
He had to give like 30% of his earnings to the Chinese government. So these Chinese basically are sending people out, give them loans and everything like that. And the bottom line is this: and the Chinese are mapping out their distribution networks, their contact network. They're all over the place. And the bottom line is this: they got all these Chinese that are setting up shop throughout Africa. You ain't gonna be able to get rid of them. And they're basically putting little small scale farmers in Africa out of business. And so the bottom line is this: when they have a strong enough, and that debt becomes liquid, when you try to liquidate that debt, they're gonna be like, okay, well, we'll give you a little more time. But those people you're complaining about that's illegally fishing off your coast, what are we gonna do about that? Oh, okay, what can we do? Go ahead. And then the Africans will be sitting there talking about, we're gonna attack Chinese fishing boats and everything. The Chinese like, well, we can help you out here. We got to protect our fishing boat. Okay. The host government will say, what can we do? Chinese will send their Coast Guard there to protect their fishing fleet over there. It's still, look, the bottom line is, if you don't see how the Opium War started, how the West got Hong Kong and Macau and all these other things, the same thing is freaking happening. They'll create a problem and they'll come in and take over. What makes you think it's going to happen in Africa? If a little girl could take a piece of land in Sudan and claim it as her own and whatnot, what makes you think a military superpower like China can't start taking chunks of the continent for themselves? They already have plans to build Chinese city-states in Africa. And we sit here in America and talk about, oh, Colin, man, I don't know why you talk about building an African diaspora state and everything like that. Why? Because I want to build something with people I'm familiar with, And back to the question, we keep getting off topic. Why is Pan-Africanism always on the back of African Americans? Every time I talk to people, they will say, well, I think African Americans should come and integrate with Africans and do that and the other. Well, when Africans come to America, why is it that they separate themselves from us? Not only they separate themselves from us, but they separate themselves from other Africans. The Ghanaians are over here doing their thing. You may have some places where you have African students and everything, but then after a while, Liberians can't stand Ghanaians. Ghanaians can't stand Liberians. Liberians can't stand Nigerians. Everybody's doing their thing, but yet when it comes to African Americans, we're just unified people that we have to just forget who we are and under the guise of so-called Pan-Africanism. You know, it's not like that. The bottom line is this: we have to build something for ourselves and then integrate together on based on a position of strength. You know what I'm saying? And a position of strength and a mutual benefit. That's what I believe. I believe. Because if it was the truth, right, there'll be African governments would have institutions connected with Black HBCUs. And we do. A couple of years ago, up until the Ebola crisis, people don't know this. Morehouse and Howard and everything had rebuilt engineering departments and architecture departments in Howard, excuse me, in Liberia and Tubman University. All the country was destroyed by the coup and the Civil War. They rebuilt the engineering architecture department, and they had volunteer students, and it was a student exchange happening between the Black students in America and the Liberians to rebuild something and thing. But the thing is, it seems to me that Liberians are not interested in that. They didn't take that seriously. Another thing that woke me up to a lot of this stuff was President Sirleaf was invited to Texas Southern, right? Texas Southern. Isn't that HBCU, right? That's the HBCU. Okay, this is what happened. This is what happened.
Yes.
It's on YouTube, right? I listened to this thing for 3 hours, right? And the students were up there, the black students and the faculty they sung the Liberian national anthem. She was really there to they hosted that, right? But I think some local Texas official was there, or whatever. I think that's what she was really there for. And then that one guy that I helped get out of office over there, this guy Finley, he was the senator from Buchanan of Buchanan County, excuse me, Grand Bosque County. Anyway, him and the other guy, the Speaker of the House, fat guy, forgot his name. They act like they were. He's the Speaker of the House. He's the pro temp, whatever, and they acting like her bodyguards. They were like, people come by. So I'm like, dang, man, your country is that poor that you don't have the security. Your senator and your Speaker of the House is acting like the president's bodyguard. But anyway, no one, no, we all ignore that. Whatever, whatever. Anyway, the question was asked, right? Somebody asked, what about the Liberian? The Liberian guy asked, what about Liberians living in America? How can we have dual citizenship? A lot of us can't come back, and we want to contribute. And he was like, no, see, that would cause a problem because you got Liberians in America. And then basically, the people in Liberia are trying to keep Liberians in America from coming there because they fear competition. That's just real. I call it belly-driven politics. That means politics is based on what your belly is saying. Belly-driven politics. That's what they call it. So anyway, the African Americans that were there and the Liberians there saying, yes, we have a long history, this, that, and the other thing, and they sung the Liberian national anthem. And the president of the college was like, look, we are ready to help you rebuild the colleges. We basically got this in this department, the engineering department. We want to help you facilitate your college and everything. And she was like, sort of like lackadaisical, yes, yes, yes. I don't think anything ever came out of it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying to myself, this is the head of a country, right? You have audience with an enthusiastic African American prestigious university, and you get the other African American universities, all these countries in Africa, because of my blog, and I'm gonna give myself some credit and like that. And the group I created called the Association of African Americans of Liberia, with me and Emil Sestak was doing, we were setting out things like Liberia Next Series and stuff like that. We were saying the history of Liberia with African Americans is very, very important. Let's keep that. That had nothing to do with nation building and everything, but I just think that just like African Americans may care about the Gullah Geechee culture, we may care about Caribbean. I think Liberia should be included in our nation that we embraces as one of our own. As definitely
and Sierra Leone.
And Sierra Leone. You know what I'm saying? Because of the history of the returning slave and repatriating slave and all the stuff like that. Sierra Leone, Liberia, definitely in the column, and also the fact that a lot of Gullah Geechee people still came to America, still had the Gullah Geechee people, and it's returned with the same Creole culture in Sierra Leone, and Liberia. So the significant culture on that coastline right there of 200 something years of activity is almost completely lost in history. So I said, let's build something. Let's take that and build something with that. You know what I'm saying? There could be ecotourism and some everything. This Liberia has many different houses and settlements where the African Americans returned There's Native Liberian culture. I love Native Liberian. I attended the Liberian Festival at the embassy 5 years ago. I was, look, have get ready for something spectacular when you go to Liberia and go to Nimba County and see the Gio, the Gio and the Mono drummers. Dias, you have never seen anything like this in your life. These guys are something else, man. These Liberian drum warriors, they are something else.
Real quick, let me shout out Legal Night Owl. Thank you so much brother for the super chat. Also, everyone who super chatted, I don't even care if you've gotten a card before. Make sure you email me your address so I can send you a postcard. Even if you got one before, I'll just send you another one. Just because I'm so grateful. So thank you. All right, go ahead, Colin.
Yeah, and so I'm saying that I went to that embassy. I went to the embassy and had a ball at the Liberian Independence Day. Oh my God, I had a ball. I fit right in, man. I fit right the hell in. I had a friggin' ball, man. The Liberian dancers and the Hartman, they had the Hartman Devil there, Bush Devil there. They had the guys on those tall stilts there, and the drummers, man, the pulsating from the drum. You could feel the drums from like a block away. That's how powerful those drums are. Something like you've never seen before. And then and at the time I was in the middle of writing my novel, and I was saying on it and asked people. I said, "Yeah, man, the American Liberians had it good. They had their own culture right there in their cities and townships, but they always would go to they had the best of both worlds. They had their culture from the West and everything, what they learned, which is a remembered African culture and Anglicized or Western culture, and they had the indigenous culture that they also would go to and fellowship and everything. So this idea of African Americans or Lyric Liberians were oppressing the native, that's a lot of junk. And so anyway, I was like, well, I said, what a freaking beautiful experiment it was. And these people, man, I mean, Liberians are amazing people. As much as I say about them, they're really amazing people. You know what I'm saying? They're really amazing people. Just the political situation, just really understood. Like I said, man, all the people I meet in Africa, man, Liberians is something else. Anyway, my whole thing is this: the burden of Pan African cannot be always on Black people in America. I think because people expect so much out of us. You know what I'm saying? They expect so much out of us and stuff like that. But I do believe the Black man in America, should, and the Black people in the West should have a place of their own, as a starting point, and also integrate into African society as equals. You integrate with this African society through marriage. You know what I'm saying? Marriage is the key. Marriage and culture exchange, business relationships, and everything like that. All these things will basically facilitate the integration process. And also a commonality is that we're all part of this same experience. Africans got to get rid of this term "son of the soil," true son of the soil. That's a way of distinguishing people who were born on the continent from people who were born in America. That right there, that son of the soil is very, very divisive. What I'm saying? I've seen it used on me. I'm saying, well, I'm a son of the soil. All right, well, what am I? Well, you were born in America. You don't have to basically, you're not really a true African because your ancestors were taken as slaves. So I stopped becoming an African because my ancestors were taken in slavery. That's divisive. That's the one reason why. That's the reason why the American Liberians were never really accepted. Not because they weren't Black, because the whole idea is if you were born in America, that makes you not African anymore. That's the stupidest thing. A Chinese could go anywhere. The same logic you read is the reason why Europeans take over the world. He's a white man. He's first and foremost a white man. Like white people understand something. I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret here. The whole idea of being American to white people, because I grew up around them, is bullshit. They don't see themselves as American first. They see themselves as white people first. You know what I'm saying? Should I say it again, Dinus? Yeah. They do not. White people in America do not see themselves as Americans first. That's a lot of crap. That whole thing about Colin Kaepernick and the Patriots, that means nothing to them. What's important to them is their racial identity. Let's be clear. In America, the white man is God. That's what it's all about. That race, that color. That color is their identity. Whether they go to the Fiji Islands or they're in the North Pole, they're gonna be seen as a white man. Whether they're in England, and all they do is create little enclaves and playgrounds all around the world where they can practice their white supremacy and their white domination because they have that base of operation. That's why they don't want to lose South Africa. You know, they don't want to lose South Africa because that's a place for white people to thrive in. It's all being white. It has nothing. White people in South Africa can care less about South Africa. They can care less about Africa. It's all about being white and being have an opportune moment to be white and free anywhere they go. Now, when you take their safe space away from them, they got problems, and they did because the whites were driven out of Angola. It was all about being white in Mozambique. They were thrown out. Mozambique and Angola, they uprooted the whites, and they're all gone. And they don't like that very much. But in places like Kenya, they're still there. You know, places like Uganda, they're still there. Tanzania's pretty much they're still there in somewhere. Not Tanzania so much, but places like Malawi, places like Zimbabwe, they're definitely there. South Africa, they're definitely there. Botswana, there's a family that just bought a whole bunch of acres of land in Botswana. From what I hear, they're trying to build their own white settlement. It's a mess. Because when you talk about race, right, as long as the person is black, like I said, well, do you believe in African American? Yeah, but I believe in an African American, African diaspora nation. But if you're black, you know what I'm saying? That's why people will want to keep debating on this. We black people in America don't really care about your tribe. It's about race. We think the same way. That's what's so dangerous about African Americans. I don't give a damn if you're Nigerian, Kenyan, and everything. If you want to come and live with us and build with us, you black, you're welcome. You know, and that's the way we are. You know, we are. We don't care about that stuff like that. We don't care about tribalism and all stuff like that. If you're black and you want to build and marry and be part of us, we're not going to discriminate against you. You know, we're not going to a lot of Africans do this. You have the British are always pitting Nigerians and Kenyans away from against each other. You know, most of what Kenyans hear about Nigeria comes through the British, the BBC, and the British press. Oh, those people, the BBC will make a documentary about Nigeria and show it to Kenya. And the Kenyans will say, "Oh man, those Nigerians are savages and everything." And Nigerians say something about Kenyans. Back, oh, Kenyans, they'll do something about Kenya. And they don't understand that every image you see on that television program has been put out there to put a certain image in your head about each other. And so you got Nigerians and Kenyans going back and forth with each other like a war zone. Nigerians and Ghanaians going back and forth. I say, well, wait, how come we? I go, well, you guys, where'd you get this from? Well, I saw a documentary. Where'd you get the documentary from? Well, I saw it on the BBC. You know, and so the same thing was happening right now all over the continent. People basically, we don't even have an African global media network. Where is our Al Jazeera? You know what I'm saying? Hey, Daniel, am I missing something here? Now, where is our Al Jazeera? Where's our global Al Jazeera? You know,
I guess I got to be the one to create it.
You got to be the one. Dynasty is gonna be the one to create it. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're talking about. For we're talking about big things, and the whole thing is this: with the Search for Huru, the Black African Infrastructure Organization. Look, you know, if you are African of means and everything, and you want to get serious about people that's going to do something. If you don't want to keep sitting on the beach drinking mai tais, get with us. You know, I always hear black people always talk about African Americans. Y'all don't do that. Well, we have an organization, a social network where you can come and join African Americans that want to be linked to every country in the world, in Africa in particular. So don't tell me there's not people. You got to search for Uhuru here. Go to the African continent. We got all kinds of people that's interested. This idea of building with Africa is a long time coming. I guess Phil from the White Show, he sees that without this Pan-Africanism, without us linking and building with Africa, if nothing else but politically right now, is essential to our survival. We cannot no longer be an African people in a hostile white world surrounded by enemies forever. We have to let them know that, you know, look, we have back. We have other options. You know, I recently got kicked off of Michael Savage's Twitter page the other day because I opened up a can of whip ass on them. They were trying to talk about the white South African farmers. After I opened up a can of whip ass on these alt-right people, and he was basically like, "We all Americans." Mr. College Genesis, are we all Americans? No. So you want to come here and talk your white supremacy stuff, how you, the white man, this way and that, and I tell you, well, fuck you, fuck America, fuck everything, and this and that and the other thing. Well, the bottom line is we got something for Trump. If he ever tries to invade the continent, whatever like that, you know, well, he better come for all of us. Now suddenly you're telling me, why you should be talking like that. You're American too. No, don't worry. You're gonna wait. You're gonna sit here, got a knife in my back. They throw us on the bus every time, wage war on us inside of America, and then ask me for my allegiance. What are you freaking insane? I never seen anything like this in my life. These motherfuckers want to wage war against us. You know what I'm saying? Talk about the police shootings is okay and all stuff like this, but yet they want to ask you for your allegiance. I never see. Look. Let me tell you something right now. I am not my ancestors, right? Yeah, we had people that went off to fight the Germans and all stuff like that, but I'm not fighting the Japanese and we went over there and fought in Vietnam and they got all these medals and things. I'm not one of them. I'm sorry, America had 400 years to get it right with me. You have 400 years. Next year will be 400 years. Time is up. That ship has sailed. So the bottom line is that ship is sailed. That ship is gone. You know what I'm saying? So you can talk all that you want to. Back to China. I know we got to go in a little while. You know.
Are the brothers doing the show at 9:30 or?
I think so.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll see. You know what I'm saying? But back to China. Now, China is basically, like I said, China is doing major infrastructure projects on the continent. Right? I get that. And without China, I'll be a person to admit to you. Without China, Africa was in a bad situation. But let's review. Let's do a review, folks. Okay, ladies, let's do a review. China coming to Africa on the whole was a good thing. China was part of the third world. This and the other thing. It counterbalances the Western powers in Africa. That's number two. Number three. China has basically let the world know that Africa has potential. You know, because if it wasn't for China, you wouldn't see a lot of African Americans even say, "Oh, there's investment opportunity in China." Okay, that's three. Now, here's where it gets sticky. Africa has to do its part to make sure that China is playing above the board, and Africa has to be committed to long-term sustainable development once the Chinese leave, and the Chinese have to know that yes, their time in Africa is temporary, and their power and influence in Africa is tenuous at best, and nuanced at worst. So that means the Chinese have a period certain in Africa. Africans and all of us in the Black world have to demand a period certain. What is China's long-term ambitions and stuff like this stuff in Africa? We have to understand that. We have to be the ones that vanguard and protect African natural resources, African borders, African women, African children, African vulnerable populations. That's not up for the Chinese to do. That's up for Black people around the world to do. So we have to be do our diligence, and also we have to basically ask questions. You know, ask questions about this. Now, for us like Africans, let's play. Let's play that video, Dinus. Let's play that video. You got it, or you want me to get it?
I got it. I'll pull it up real quick. Yeah, this is definitely interesting. Hold on 1 second. And the thing is, Colin, they could come on the continent and be unapologetic about the racism.
Did you see that one where they beat in Gabon?
Yeah, I saw that.
They beat workers.
Yes, nothing will happen. Let me share the screen. Hold on. All right, here we go. Wrong screen. Here we go.
Or you can take him to court.
Let me try to blow it up. Hold on 1 second. I should be able to blow it up.
You should.
You can report him to the police, or you can take him to.
Hold on 1 second. I should be able to.
Yeah. We'll do the whole thing.
No, but I'm trying to expand. It won't let me. It won't let me blow it up in full size.
It should be. Oh, let's see. Hold on.
You can report him to the police, or you can take him to court. If you
watch it like that.
Yes. Why are you diverting your anger to me? Really? Yeah, it's like you are punishing me.
Before you're Kenyan.
So you are punishing me because
everyone, every Kenyan, even Enna, this is all the Kenyans, like a monkey. Even Uhuru, Kenyatta, all of them.
It's like a monkey.
Yeah, sure.
The president of this country.
Yeah, sure. You can go to court and tell me who have the evidence. Kenyans like an actor, you know. Just speak is cheap, speak is cheap. I also can like a Kenyan, you know. So this is what I'm saying. I have to give a letter to you. You have to sign. Only later.
So, Judge, I think you should go back to China.
Really? And why you have to stay here?
What did he say? You should go back to Kenya?
He was what was the Chinese guy?
Yeah,
they'll tell you're your own country. They'll tell you to go back.
Okay.
Even if you don't fire me.
No, I will fire you after I go back to China.
That no problem. I will not work here forever.
Sure. You should not do the business with Chinese, you know.
But whatever you are doing is extremely wrong.
I don't care.
You don't care.
I mean, dude, Colin, I can't take it anymore. How whatever you're doing is extremely wrong. How just compassionate and
passionate. Yeah. If that was a Nigerian, he'd be over the phone.
Oh no, yeah. But what's crazy. They had when I was in Nairobi back in 2000 and I think it was 14 or 15. I was in Nairobi. They had a lot of South Sudanese immigrants in Nairobi. And man, they would talk shit to them South Sudanese immigrants and
You call them all kinds of names, color, mark their color.
Smell is bad, and poor, and foolish, and black. Who like them? Why not the right people, like the American?
Then why are you coming to do business in Kenya if we are poor, we are black, for money? Why is it that you need our money?
Money is important.
Money is important.
I can't take it, Kyle. I can't watch the rest. But it's just they're just sitting there just trying to reason with them and
rationalize with them.
And, you know,
he sounds like a lot of. Remember, Roland Martin had Richard Spencer.
Richard Spencer.
He's like, look. Don't you believe?
He said,
the Lord Jesus Christ.
This is what he did. Roly Poly was like, I'm not. First of all, I'm a man, and then I'm a Christian, and then Richard Spencer was just full out white supremacy, and Roland was just, I'm a Christian.
Aren't you a Christian? Aren't you a Christian too?
Black. Yeah, black is a social construct. I'm a Christian man.
Yeah, white people, so is white, but white people like love that social construct. You know what I'm saying? Black people want to get rid of it. So it's like, look, let me give you an example. If you have a rich man, a guy who's a millionaire, right, and a guy who's poor, right? Now, the poor would love for the rich man to say, you know something, we're all equal. You know what I'm saying? You know, if I go to that restaurant, you and I can sit at the same table, and that country club right there, hey, you could be a member too. You know what I'm saying? You know, all these distinguished people, the successful people and everything, you can come to this country club too. You know what I'm saying? Now, every poor person will love that. You know what I'm saying? But you know, in the real world, there's a certain construct that reward and punishment. White people are naturally rewarded for having white skin, for doing nothing else but being white. And that's what Richard Spencer saying. He said, look, I got this white skin. I'm part of a winning team called Team White. You know, you think about it. Team White. Where's your team? I'm Team White. Team White skin, right? And so therefore, he's looking at Roland Martin with his Roland Poly himself like, you are a loser. You know what I'm saying? That's the way they look at it. You are a big bloated loser. You know what I'm saying? Who eats pork chops and eggs. You know what I'm saying? You are a big bloated loser who basically wants biscuits and pork chops with gravy from Hillary Clinton. You know, you are a big bloated loser. You know what I'm saying? Who did the jig dance for Hillary Clinton? You know what I'm saying? You are a big bloated loser, right? Because you can't beat me. I'm white. You know what I'm saying? You're not, and everything. You got a show on TV1, TV1 that's about to get canceled. You know what I'm saying? Because of low viewership and everything like that, you know? And you don't have any guests. You can't even put me up in a hotel and everything. And I'm basically doing you a favor coming here. So the bottom line is this. The bottom line is richest person. He was saying the same thing. Richest, you can't. Hey, we go. The bottom line is this. These people that keep downplaying race and everything like that. Black people now, that arrogant attitude of the Chinese is exactly how most of them feel. You know what I'm saying? They want to be the new white people. You know, they want to be the new white people of Africa. You know, they want to be. They want to know what that white superiority, that light skin superiority. They want a taste of that. White supremacy is an addiction. And colorism and want to oppress people for being darker and everything like that. That's what it's all about. So like I said, we can't look at that. Bottom line is, man. The bottom line is this: people who listen to Search for Huru, please join the BAIO, and let's get friggin' serious about nation building. Don't stop opposing us. Stop friggin' bad mouthing the Black African infrastructure. We don't have everything perfect. But you look at our ideas and what we're trying to do and everything like that. It's just not a matter of time before this really takes off and everything. You want to be on a winning team and everything, or a team that's going to win. We have to build. You know what I'm saying? Because the bottom line is this: if we don't build now, we're never going to win. Now is the time. Like now, not 20 years from now, not waiting. Now is the time. That's why we do these shows. Why? Because time is of the essence, right? And guess this: the strongest, the bottom line is this idea of what we're talking about is having an effect all over because everybody's talking about this stuff because of the Social Huru and the Black Infrastructure Organization. We're the elephant in the room. The 800-pound gorilla in the room is nationhood and Pan-Africanism and real Pan-Africanism. You can't ignore this anymore. There's nothing left. You know what I'm saying? Are you going to wait for the election cycle? You know what I'm saying? Are you waiting for 2020? Look how 2016 turned out. Black people becoming apolitical. We're not even showing up to the elections. I said this. I said this today, right? Black people in America, basically, the political system. Chicago. Can you tell me, Dinus, right? Yeah, this is what I want to talk about. Oh, glad to remember this, right? I was watching a documentary from On the Roof, Rot, blog, but it was a Labor Day documentary about the history of the Black. And I always know that Baltimore has a long history, 200-year history of Black people in the steamship, in the shipbuilding, in the ship repair industry. That's generation of Black people worked on the shipyard. Same thing here in Norfolk, shipyard work. Black people back in those days formed the first union, right? When they formed their own union, because white people wouldn't let them join the union of shipyard workers, they formed their own. And soon after they got fired to make room for white workers, they formed their own, bought their own companies, and they lasted for a while and everything. But what I'm saying is this though, that was right around the time where there was Black people before the Civil War, where there was Black people sailing for Liberia and building Sierra Leone. Now the leaders of these movements, now I'm not going to get into that part of things. I think you got no problem with colorism and stuff like that, but they wanted no part of building with Africa and stuff like that. They wanted no part of that, right? They basically wanted to, oh yeah, we're going to build equality. They said, what do they want? We want to enter the script. This is basically the 1830s. Get this. They wanted equality. Think about it. Equality at a time where they were selling Black people on friggin' still packing Black people in slave ships. You have people actually talking. Now, who are these people talking about equality? Black people got to realize there were Black men in this country who weren't really exactly Black, right? Right? They were just colored, right? They really consider themselves an offshoot of white people, right? Then you had real Black people, us real Black people, what I'm saying? Us full-blooded Black people who basically were marginalized, whatever. We never fit. I'll put it to you like this. What we have in America is leadership that only care about themselves and their immediate family and everything. Damn be the majority of Black people. Damn the majority of Black people and everything. And this is why, right? 200 years later, Dinus, do you have anything successful or good to say about the city of Baltimore?
The Ravens won the Super Bowl back in like 2004. So
I thought something I forgot about that. Yeah, that was a good year too. Now, for the most part, Baltimore is a literal hell on earth. It is so bad, right? No matter the political, you know, when you have a situation where the political, no matter who gets elected, right, the city is just going to get worse. It's like Chicago. You're completely disconnected from the political system. The only thing that usually in these situations that really turn things around is a bloody, violent overhaul of the social order, because the city is so far gone and disconnected from the black population. Black population has completely apolitical. That means the police have no legitimacy. You know what I'm saying? Other than to keep the people oppressed, the police can't protect the people. The society can't house the people. You have people, they spent $100 billion on some housing scheme, whatever like that, or some job scheme, and they said all the money was eaten up. It came out of the affordable, not the affordable care, but the stimulus, right? People like, oh, we thought we were gonna get some money for development, jobs, and everything. And these people are like, well, I just want a job for my family. A guy trying to make an honest step to keep his family together can't find work. People can't find honest work and everything like that. The city is so far gone. It's so far gone that it can't provide anything for its people. And you wonder why some people turn to socialism and communism. If I lived in Baltimore, right, I would want to be a communist too. You know what I'm saying? The capital system has failed. He said, then again, in the socialism there, it probably failed too. I don't know if you could. What gets me is you have white people there that live in parts of Baltimore that live spectacular. That's what it is. But you have a black underclass, almost like a majority, that are just gone. The black middle class was living in Prince George's County and other in D.C. area and everything like that. And the black slums is like a big plantation that everybody got his neck, a foot on the neck, and try to control. And then you got the drug gangs and everything, keep the people terrorized and intimidated. You know what I'm saying? The gangs are there to keep the people intimidated in line. So the people have to call the police. So therefore, how does a black man live in Baltimore? You know what I'm saying? There's nothing you can do about it. You got the gangs are shooting you down. You got the police are shooting you down. You got everybody. You know what I'm saying? The women are abandoning you. The kids don't respect you and everything like that. There's no jobs. There's no anything and everything like that. What do you do? The only next stage is nationalism. It's time for Baltimore to say, look, let's be the epicenter of the Exodus movement. You know what I'm saying? There's someplace out there besides America. Let's go there and build. That should be ground zero of a Pan-African movement. You know, and rebuilding. Let's build our own global system. Let's get the heck out of here. We can't be confined to these city limits anymore. You know, it's dead. We need to retrain, re-educate our people for a global economy. But sitting there and waiting on the electoral cycle and somebody to get elected to solve something, I mean, you got to be insane. Chicago is just gone. Detroit, you know, Detroit is out open saying we're gone. You know, they don't even hide it anymore. You know what I'm saying? You know, Gary, Indiana, forget about it. All these places that we used to have pride in. Oh, I'm from Gary. I'm from this, that, and the other thing. You know, Steel, Motown. You know, Chicago, and all this. All these places have turned into one big freaking nightmare. There, you know, you got a couple of generations of black people did well and had homes and stuff like that, and now it's hell on earth. And that's a coming hell on earth. And so the bottom line is, and so since I said that, right? I said that Los Angeles, I just heard that the Mexicans are taking over Watts. You know, I didn't even know that. You know, so therefore, every last single community in Black America is under assault. You know what I'm saying? You have the effemination of black males and everything, Atlanta and stuff like that. You know, you have it's just Black America is just a mess. We're dying. And then on to creme de la creme is the top icon in Black America of the last 60 years is about to be sent to jail. Bill Cosby. Can I tell you any more? I'm not trying to sound doom and gloom that it's over in America. It's over. It's finished. There's nothing left. Bill Cosby did America a favor. He created this middle class black. He gave black people such hope. Things are getting better. We're gonna be Americans with it. Now, white people just did it. Take away Bill Cosby, and people are like, oh, so you mean to tell me that that was all a farce? You know, yeah. They never wanted us to be. All they wanted to do was delay us for a little while so they could regroup and take us away. Black America could have went any way. The black middle class could have went any direction in the 60s. But we chose to integrate and go into the mainstream of America. We could have easily went, any direction we want to on a global scale. Because people in the UN want to give us representation, and say, well, we got a minority population, like they do some groups around the world. You got a minority. Anytime you have a minority group in a country, if they want UN recognition and UN records, we don't have that in the UN. Can you believe that? We basically decided on integration. We gave up the right to become a minority group with special UN protection, which could have gave us access to loans and some of everything around the world. But no, we wanted to be Americans. We profess our allegiance to the United States of America and had a civil rights movement, not a human rights movement. So,
real quick, before we close out, Kyle, what about Africa ain't sending no boats for us? They ain't sending no boats for us to come save us. They ain't sending out one boat. We'll be responsive to that.
Yeah, my whole thing is this. Look, bottom line is this. Africa suffered, suffered. We suffered the most, right? But Africa suffered dearly from the slave. I'm not buying that. Let's study the slave trade more. I'm not buying the fact that Africans were sitting there and just selling us. No. It was a few African kings, and just like what's going on in Africa right now, there's people on top robbing it. It's like blaming Africans for all the debt and stuff like that. It's a few people on top, empowered by Europeans with guns, giving them guns to oppress people. Let me tell you something about African culture, right? If people don't know this, right? The idea of the king or the African in power is a European concept. Africans never had that sort of power. A king was somebody in African societies. They had this thing. We had this thing called the Macy. In Oyo, we had this thing called the Macy. That's a supreme council. He decided the life and death of the king. The king, they made the law. The king was just the interpreter and the enforcer of the law. You know what I'm saying? African societies were highly developed prior to the Europeans coming there. When Europeans came to Africa and whatnot, and they saw all these people highly developed government. Well, how do we get stuff like that? They start arming warlords and lesser chiefs and everything like with guns, right? And that took power away from the central councils and everything like that. It became a free for all. Before that, Europeans didn't understand Africa, right? They thought that they could talk to one man. Take me to your leader. You ever heard that thing? Take me to your leader. Well, there wasn't really any one particular leader. The king was a representative. He had to defer to a council. And he had to have to go to a council of elders. He had to seek counsel from many different people before he made a decision. It wasn't until the introduction of guns and gunpowder that these African rulers became despots. They killed off council members and advisors and all stuff like that, elders and other different clan leaders, everything. All the whole power structure of different. They're not all the same, but throughout Africa, it was the same sort of pattern, where basically one person would rule, right? And then over generations, right, more and more brutal dictators are taking over. And that's how the slave trade happened. It was an undermining of African civilization and culture by the introduction of one particular item, the gun, of gunpowder. So when you sit here and say Africans are responsible, say no. It was Europeans ultimately was responsible because they introduced guns and they had the demand for slavery. Sure, some African rulers are responsible, like the sultans of Calabar. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there was some responsible, but the average African was not safe in Africa. No African was safe when the slave trade would happen. 1 minute you could be involved in a slave trade, and the next minute you could be on that slave ship. That's how Europeans played each other. And even when it came down to the slave trade, right? Europeans befriended some tribes, like the Kru tribe and everything, as advisors and stuff like that. They would tell them what's going on. Are the Africans trying to pull out of the slave trade or whatever? They would negotiate. They would befriend some people, and some of those tribes would make markings on themselves, marking them. And it was agreement among Europeans. This is how powerful this institution was. There was agreement among all the Europeans that certain tribes would never take as slaves. Why? To earn their trust. You had to have certain groups of people in Africa, tribes that they could rely on. And the only way, the people that broke that three times that was broken in Africa, right? One was Shaka Zulu, right? Because he made the lesser tribes in Africa. He wanted to unite Africa because he knew the Europeans were the ultimate enemy, right? He made them fear him more than they feared the Europeans. Same thing with Queen Azenga. Queen Azenga made the Africans that were trading slaves and everything like in the Congo. She made them fear her more than they feared the Portuguese. The American Liberians, right? They made the indigenous people fear them more than they feared the Europeans who were trying to still trade slaves on the coast. And that's what broke the slave trade in Africa. Fear. And then when Europeans the British and the United States outlawed the slave trade and everything, like they started intercepting slave boats and slave trading companies went bankrupt. That's what ended it. But let's not put that on Africans and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Africa was under siege. Africa was just as much as in bondage as we were. All Africa was victimized by the slave trade. I'm sick and tired of people saying that. That's just another Negro stalling tactic to, they didn't come near us, help us and whatnot. They didn't come and help us. So why should we help them? Get out of here with that crap. You know what I'm saying? If I'm gonna forgive, so you sit here in America and forgave white America for everything, I think I'm gonna give my brothers and sisters in Africa a pass and say, let's build something now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the Chinese introduced gunpowder to the Europeans. Yes, but the Chinese used gunpowder for peaceful purposes for the most part. They didn't use gunpowder as Europeans did. Europeans used gunpowder to take over the world. You know what I'm saying? That's how they took over the world, gunpowder. So that's good. So we got anything else, Dinus?
No, I mean that's it, brother. We'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and close out.
I think we did a good show. We had a lot of viewers.
We covered everything, man. We did.
Yeah, and a little bit of time too, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So join us at the BAIO. I think somebody put the link in the chat room. Join me. Join the Call Nation in the BAIO group. We have different groups. Join your state chapter. Join your interests. We want people with professional skills. Tell us what you do. Tell us what you want to do. And tell us what your plan is to build this global Black African infrastructure. There's no reason why the Black race don't have their own infrastructure globally. Well, there's no reason why Africa. Let me say something quick. People ask me the question. They're like, "Why don't Ghana? Nobody buying the Ghanaian car, right?" First of all, okay, we applaud the Ghanaian car manufacturer, but most of the part they're assembling Ghana. They're not manufacturing Ghana. They're assembling Ghana, right? But do you know that Africa, like Japan, when Japan built this, and the United States, in order for you to build an automobile, you need the coordination of a nation state. Now, in Africa, that comes a little tricky because even a country like Nigeria doesn't have the logistics to build a car by itself, right? It's going to need help. It may need the coordination of 10 states to build one single car unit, you know what I'm saying? Or several manufacturers. African manufacturing have to be integrated with each other across the continent. To do that, we need railways, you know what I'm saying, to carry parts, to assemble parts. We need places where steel is pressed and stuff like that. So Africa has to start building its own automobiles, its own tractors, its own machinery, everything. And the only way to do that is Africans have to work together. Nigerians have to work with Kenyans. And how do you do that? Well, you have to have communications. You have to have logistics. You have to have infrastructure in place. The problem is Africa is just so big. How do we do that? Well, maybe we can't do it cross continent, but what if every last single African country built a free trade zone and let those manufacturing zones connect with each other around the coast? Couldn't we basically create a manufacturing bonanza around the continent, which all the goods on Africa are processed from African natural resources and assembled here and basically like that? So therefore, instead of something being a Ghanaian car, well, some of the parts are made in Tanzania, some of the parts are made in South Africa, some of the parts are made here. The bottom line is this: if Africans working together, instead of the Nigerians hating on Ghanaians because you think the Ghanaians are one up on you because they got a car, or somebody saying, I ain't buying that Ghanaian crap, why don't everybody say, look, this is a car, but who takes credit for it? If a car is manufactured in Detroit, right? Do the state of Michigan get up and tell the state of New Jersey, you guys suck, we making the cars, you ain't making shit? No. because the car is made in where? America. Until Africa becomes like it's an African-made car, not a Ghanaian-made car, not a Nigerian-made car. It's an African-made car. And then he builds assembly plants all over the continent where everybody get a chance to showcase, well, this is what our workforce did. See, all these ideas, Dinus, can happen if people start hearing talk like this on a regular basis. Somebody said collar for president. Hey, man. Yeah, so where's the colonation? You want to know what a colonation is? Join the BAIO and join the colonation group. You know what I'm saying? Let's get that group popular one night. I'll tell you anything you want to know. You can communicate with me on a daily basis if you want to. You know, you want to get down with the college genesis? You can join the Black African Infrastructure Organization. You can talk to me about anything. You know, I'm here. I'm here. I like that.
With that,
call for president.
Call for president. With that being said, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you go to the BIO site. Oh man, Kyle, anytime Wednesday nights is we gonna rise up every.
Gonna rise up, yeah. Gonna rise everything.
Gonna rise up every Wednesday. So make sure you guys go to searchforhuru.com, DynasMir.com, Amazon.com, search your name Dynasmir. Also go to Search for Huru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Until next time, family. Peace.
Peace.